Meditation Experience of PB Secretary. Excerpts from My Reminiscences of PB by S.S. Gopalakrishnan, B.A., a former Indian secretary to PB. On occasions, with the magnetic and telepathic influence of PB strongly felt, I sometimes forgot all my personal limitations and flew to ethereal heights, leaving my physical moorings in the body and soaring into vast space with a feeling of oneness with all the universe. My feeble experience was only an echo or reflection of PB's swift winking into an even deeper state. Such joint meditations destroyed all the worries and miseries of life and brought great peace to my mind and went a long way to develop me spiritually. And 100 times more was this so when in the immediate presence and under the guidance of PB. Shall I try to describe to the best of my ability and powers of expression and, as far as I can remember, what happened on one of those nights? I shall not add or take away any idea or thought. I describe it exactly as it appeared and happened to me. It is still fully vivid to me because it is still unforgettable. When late engagements or pressure of work made the evening meditation impossible, it was postponed to midnight. That night at 12 o'clock, I went and squatted in the open terrace on a carpet spread on the floor with PB at my side. I began to meditate. When the preliminary portion of slowing down the breath and thoughts was over, I very slowly turned my head to the right to catch a glimpse of the marble statue-like figure there, and inwardly drew some inspiration and strength to carry on in earnest the analysis of the ego or I thought. When that was over, I slowly turned back to my original position. I often used to feel sleepy on previous occasions owing to the lateness of the hour. But now I was full of life and energy. With one concentrated thought of all-absorbing force, I mentally asked, "Who am I?" Then I felt that I was not the body. I said to myself, "If so, try to forget the body." A kind of dizziness grew over me, and my body appeared to become rigid. I slowly began to feel no sensation in it. I could not move my limbs. Am I sleeping? I thought, no. I was fully awake. My head and mind alone seemed to be present. All the portion below the neck seemed to melt away. I tried to open my closed eyes. I was not aware of anything in front of me. The parapet walls and the climbing plant were not there. I saw nothing but space. My mind was soaring high. What am I? This question alone remained. I felt I was a mere speck floating in the space, invisible to the eye, having no weight or shape or size, a mere idea or thought, a mere nothingness, but still distinctly conscious. No name, no body, nor anything belonging to this world. I was in that state for a few minutes. Then I slowly became aware of breathing and again became conscious of my body. I came back to myself by degrees. I opened my eyes. Yes, I could see everything plainly, slowly, but with some pain I turned my head again and saw PB. He was still in a fixed position. A few seconds more, I moved and shook my body and then got up. The time was half hour past midnight. Soon after, we retired to sleep, but not before I told PB that I had had a very good meditation. Once in bed, I wanted to get back to that state. I wanted to watch at close quarters what happens when one passes from waking to the sleeping state, to study well the transition as PB had written in his notebooks about the importance of this moment. I lay awake for some time, but soon after I must have slept. When I became conscious of myself, a peculiar form or force or energy seemed to flow everywhere and on all sides, filling up all space and making everything lose all solidity and shape. The whole of the massy building, the walls and floors seemed to melt like butter over fire. I was lost in that ocean of energy. My body, too, seemed to become pliant and flexible, ready to melt away into nothingness. I got frightened. When my heavy body, which had been so solid and real, when 130 pounds of flesh, blood, and bones were vanishing into nothingness, the horror could only be imagined. I was faintly aware that PB was sleeping on a bed in the adjacent hall. I called him by name. I heard no response. I tried to get up and did so with difficulty, as the floor under my feet was soft, and I began to sink as one would sink in thick snow. I called again, but to no purpose. My voice was leaving me. I went to the switch. I switched on the lights, but the whole of the electric installation appeared to have lost its solidity. I fumbled on my table and found my torch. I worked it. It also did not burn. There was no light except a star-like kind. Terror became hundredfold. Had the judgment day come, or had the dissolution of the world set in? With one great effort, all the effort I could possibly gather, I waded and moved to where PB was sleeping. All the five senses were present in me only in part. Very near his bed, at the top of my voice, I called his name. He awoke and sat up and said something. I could not hear distinctly, for hearing, sight, and feeling were ebbing fast out of me. But I felt he seemed to say, I am here. Do not be afraid. Then I forgot consciousness, and slowly the whole thing vanished. I do not know how I got back to my bed. When I awoke, it was dawn, and the time was 6 a.m. My first feeling was to see my body and to feel sure it had not melted away. I ran my hands over my face and chest. I was again myself. I got up. When questioned, PB replied that I had come, terrified, to him during the night, about 40 minutes after we had retired. I tried to find out the changes, additions, or alterations to my thoughts because of this experience. First and foremost, to my mind, this occurrence was a real mystic experience, showing a glimpse into the absolute and revealing the great truth that the whole world is only an idea. I had read such a thing in PB's notebooks. It was now brought home to me as a piece of strange experience, this empty mentalness of the world. This indeed was how PB explained it to me the next morning after it happened. I felt then very strongly that my close association with him was partly responsible for it. His Indian enemies have described him in their public press attacks as a journalist in yogic pose. The truth is that I found him to be really a yogi in journalistic pose. He used to smile indulgently at their attacks, but thought it beneath his dignity to answer them. I, however, was not always able to keep silent over such gross injustices and misunderstandings. He never claimed to be anything more than a student of philosophical mysticism, but many incidents showed how humble was this estimate of his own powers. I may mention a little one. One day it struck me that I should present PB with my grandfather's copy of the book Vishnu Puranam, translated by H. Wilson, a rare edition, 100 years old, and a large volume weighing several pounds. For 2 days, I had not time to talk with PB about my wish, but when I did mention it, he replied that the past 2 days he had a great desire to procure that very book. He produced his pocket diary, and to my astonishment, the entry was found in PB's own handwriting. Get Vishnu Puranam, translated by H. Wilson. He put it down to the fact that he had concentrated on the idea which went out and found the nearest mind which could be attuned to his. I was overjoyed at his words and immediately wrote an urgent letter home, got the book through the post, and presented him with it. He was equally glad to accept the same from me as a gift and promised to keep it all his life. Here is another incident. On the 6th day after I began to work for him, he suddenly predicted that I would stay with him for some years and then go into the employment of a public company which he named, where I would hold a high position. What he foretold was fully realized by later events. If today I am the well-paid confidential secretary and right-hand man to the managing director of one of India's large pioneer industrial companies, with a brilliant future in prospect before me, it is fair to say that I have been able to accept and carry on this highly responsible post only because of the confidence, courage, discipline, training, and mental development which the work with PB continually gave me. And if I've kept my spiritual life fresh and undimmed amidst such a busy and active environment, it is also fair to say that it was PB who showed me how to attain and keep such a difficult balance. Despite the passing of years, my loyal feelings towards him remain unchanged. He is living at a great distance from me now, but not from my mind and heart.